The summer my father stopped drinking, he started walking. Every morning, before the heat came on, he would go out the back door of the house and walk up into the hollow behind the property, and he would be gone for 2 hours, sometimes 3, and he would come back quieter than he left, but a different kind of quiet. Not the quiet of a man who is fighting something, the quiet of a man who has put something down. I was 14 that summer. I did not understand what I was watching. I understand it now. My father's name was Earl Cutler. He was 41 years old that summer, which was the summer of 1987, and he had been drinking since he was 17. And he had decided, in the way that certain men decide things, without ceremony and without announcement, that he was done. He did not go to a program. He did not talk about it. He went for walks, into the hollow behind the house, up into the Cumberland Plateau country of eastern Tennessee, which is old country, old even by Appalachian standards. The rock formation, some of the oldest exposed stone in North America. The forest above it, dense and dark and full of things that have been there since before anyone was keeping track. He walked, and something in that hollow met him. I know this because he told me, 22 years later, in 2009, when he was dying, and had decided that certain things needed to be said. My name is June Cutler. I am 50 years old. I live in Crossville, Tennessee, and this is my father's story. In his own words, as close as I can give them. He told me on a Tuesday in October. He was in the hospital in Cookeville, which is about 30 miles from where we grew up. And the cancer had been at him for 8 months and was winning. And he was very thin and very clear in the way that people get clear sometimes, at the end. As if the body, having given up on certain things, redirects its resources toward the mind. He said, "June, I need to tell you something about that summer." I said, "Which summer?" He said, "The summer I quit." I said, "Okay." He said, "There was something in the hollow." He was not a man who used that kind of sentence loosely. He was not a man who told stories for effect. He was a quiet man, a carpenter, a man who said what he meant because he did not have patience for anything else. So I listened. He had gone into the hollow the first time, he said, because he needed to go somewhere that was not the house. The house was full of the weight of what he was doing. His wife, my mother, and his children, me and my brother Denny, and all the ordinary furniture of a life that had been arranged around a person who drank and was now having to rearrange itself around a person who didn't. That rearrangement, he said, was loud, even when no one was speaking. The hollow was quiet. The hollow was the old creek drainage behind the property, a steep-sided cut in the plateau, maybe a 1/4 mile wide, with the creek running along the bottom and the forest coming in close on both sides. Big tulip poplar and red oak, and the occasional old-growth white oak that had somehow survived the timber years. He had been in that hollow his whole life. He knew it. But that summer, he said, it was different. Or he was different. And the hollow was showing him something it had not shown him before. He started noticing, in the second week, that he was not alone in there. Not in a frightening way. In the way, he said, that you notice a person sitting in a room you thought was empty. A shift in the quality of the air. A sense of the space being occupied by more than yourself. He kept walking. He did not investigate. He said, "I was in no condition to investigate anything that summer. I was in the condition of a man who is trying to stay upright. I did not have the extra to spend on being curious. But I noticed, He noticed for 2 weeks. And then, in the 3rd week, he found the tracks. He found them by the creek, in the soft bank where the water had cut away the clay. He had walked past that spot 100 times. He stopped. He crouched down. He looked at them for a long time. He said, "I knew what they were. I grew up in these mountains. I had heard the old stories. Not from my family. My family was not the kind to tell those stories. But from older people in the community, people who had been in this country for a long time, who said things, sometimes, about the high hollows and what was in them. And I had always taken those things the way you take things when you are young and practical, as colorful, but not literal." He crouched there by the creek for a long time, and then he stood up, and he said out loud, to the hollow and whatever was in it, "I'm not here to bother anything." He paused, and then he said, "I'm just trying to get through the morning." He walked home. He came back the next day. He came back every day for the rest of that summer, and through the fall, and the following spring, and the summer after that. He walked the hollow every morning for 22 years. He never told my mother. He never told Denny. He told me, in October of 2009, in a hospital bed in Cookville, because he was dying and certain things needed to be said. He said, "I want to tell you what it did for me, because that is the part I think matters." I said, "Okay." He said, "It was there every morning, not always visible, usually not visible, but there, the way you know when someone is in a room. And every morning I would go in there carrying whatever I was carrying, the cravings, and the shame, and the ordinary difficulty of being a person trying to be better than he had been. And the hollow was just the hollow. It did not care about any of that. Whatever was in it did not care about any of that. It was just there, the way the creek was just there, the way the rock was just there, the way the old oaks were just there, ancient and indifferent and present." He paused. He said, "I needed something that was ancient and indifferent and present. I needed to be small in the right way, not the way I had been small, which was the wrong way, the way that drinking makes you small, which is a shrinking kind of small, a diminished kind, but the way you are small standing next to something that has been here for 10,000 years. That is a different kind of small. That is the kind that helps." I did not say anything. He said, "It helped me get through the morning. 22 years of mornings. And I don't know what it was, exactly. And I don't need to know. I know what it did." He saw it clearly twice. Once in the fall of 1989, 2 years into the walking. He was on the upper part of the hollow, where the creek came down over a limestone ledge and made a small falls. And the light was good. A clear October morning, and he looked up, and it was standing on the ledge above the falls, looking down at the creek. Not at him. At the creek. He stood below and watched it watch the water for about 2 minutes, and then it moved back into the forest, and he stood there, and then he walked home. He said, "It was very large, very dark, and it had the quality that I had felt all along without being able to name it. The quality of something that has been here a long time and is not surprised by anything, because it has seen most things before." The second time was in the spring of 2001. He had gone out earlier than usual, before the light was fully up, and had walked to the lower part of the hollow, where the creek widened. It was at the water's edge, crouched down, the way animals crouch at water, and it was drinking. He stopped. It did not look up. He stood there until it had finished, and it stood, and it walked into the tulip poplar without looking back. He said, I felt, watching that, the way I feel in church, not religiously. I am not a religious man, you know that. But the quality of the feeling, like I am in the presence of something that does not need my understanding, and is not asking for it, and is complete without it. He stopped talking for a moment. He said, I am trying to tell you what the hollow gave me, and I am not finding the right words. I said, I think you are. He said, it gave me mornings. 22 years of mornings, when I got up and went into that hollow, and came back steadier than I left. Not because anything happened, because something was there, because I was small in the right way, because the hollow was older than my problems, and larger than my problems, and entirely indifferent to my problems. And that indifference was, somehow, exactly what I needed. He looked at the window. He said, I want you to go there after I'm gone. I said, okay. He said, not to see anything, just to walk it. The way I walked it, in the morning, before the heat comes on. I said, okay. He said, it may not still be there. Things move, things change, but the hollow will be there, and the hollow is enough. He died 11 days later. I went to the hollow the following spring. I drove down to the old house, which my brother Denny owns now, and I walked out the back door. The same door my father had walked out every morning for 22 years, and I went up into the hollow. The creek was running high. It was April, and the tulip poplar was just coming into leaf, and the light was the flat gray of an overcast morning. I walked for about an hour. I did not feel anything specific. I did not see anything. I sat by the creek for a while, at the wide spot where my father said he had watched it drink, and I said, out loud, to the hollow, and whatever was in it. He said, thank you. I paused. I said, I am saying it too. And then I walked back. I have gone back 4 times since, always in the morning, always before the heat comes on. The way he taught me, without teaching me, by doing it himself for 22 years. I have not seen anything. I have not felt anything I could point to. But I go, because the hollow is there, and the hollow is older than my problems. And sometimes, on a gray April morning, with the creek running high and the tulip poplar just coming into leaf, that is enough. My father knew that. He knew it for 22 years. He went into the hollow broken, and he came out, morning by morning. Less so. Not because anything fixed him, because something in that hollow was ancient and indifferent and present, and he was small in the right way. And that, it turns out, is the whole of what he needed. I think it might be the whole of what any of us need. Somewhere to be small in the right way. Something ancient enough not to care about our particular problems. Present enough to share the morning with. Earl Cutler found that in a hollow in the Cumberland Plateau. He walked it every day for 22 years. He died sober. He died clear. He died having said what he needed to say. I am his daughter. I am saying the rest of it. For him, and for whoever is in that hollow, who maybe, after all this time, deserves to be thanked.